right, so we'll be looking at the shape submissions from previous trimester. Despite my previous remarks on their texture and, or I'm sorry, color work, shape actually seems to have been done quite well. We'll see a mixed variety of works here, but I think overall we'll get some really great ideas. This first work we're looking at is a very interesting subject. However, while I think shape is addressed, I don't see a really effective or clear principle of design. Here, quite clean image, very simple. It's fine. It's got balance and emphasis, but it's not really very engaging. It's going to be hard to get to a 5 with Serial. Experimentation with light, good. Principle of design is less effective than I would maybe hope. Like, it's nothing down to the placement. But overall effective. Very clear design. Like, there's clear emphasis and radial symmetry. Engagements, okay. Similar story. Very clear design. That's a light bulb. Clearly a lot of effort went into setting this up. We see very clear contrast and pattern. I'm still drawn to like being picky about like, oh, it needs to be more perfect, but it was very well done as it is. I think this is really effective. Certainly use of shape. I like particularly the idea that we're using light to create shape. So this overall I think was nicely done. Not bad. Principle of design, I'm not sure what they were going for. But it's clean and it's well lit. That gets you a long way here. Yeah, clear principle. There's some like issues with it being so simple, like stuff like this. It needs to be cleaned up. Clear balance, not very experimental. Good for shape though. They have a clearly defined shape that they're trying to accentuate. It's okay. We'll skip. I like the experimentation with light. Certainly shape is dominant, but I see contrast and movement being a prominent principle of design, which makes this overall pretty effective. Some movement, the idea of shape, like shadow and like figure here is good, but then we get like this window back here that wouldn't have been too hard to get rid of through like a different angle or something. There's radial symmetry, just not very experimental or engaging. Not bad. This one's unclear. This one's very difficult to judge without an artist statement. Here, interesting and experimental with the reflection and the shapes we see in that. It's interesting in that regard. Evidence of 2D design skill, like a clear principle of design, it struggles. It's that balance. Here, good experimentation. Okay-ish evidence of 2D design skill. One can imagine what they're going for. radial balance or emphasis or whatever it might be with this structure here. But all this in the way is so problematic that it makes the design not effective at all. It's okay. Again, be kind of cautious or aware of taking some ornament or sculpture or some sort of decoration, like this is a chandelier of some sort, and using that as your design structure. I think they've manipulated the principle of design that's being shown through that here, but that has to be considered as well. There's contrast, but it's not very effective. Obviously a really clear shape, but just the overall design didn't come together. I like the shadows and the shapes here, and certainly the shapes of the snow and the water melting. I just don't think they came together in a very purposeful way. Like, what principle are we trying to show? And we could probably name some that kind of shows, but I also think that the photographer could have done more to show whatever principle we're talking about. This was a extraordinarily difficult technical challenge they put before themselves. The shape of splashing water and the sense of movement and rhythm it could create is very impressive. But you would need extraordinarily bright or fast light, a lot of experimentation and timing, a really effective setup, which, they didn't do a bad job here, but this was overly ambitious is all. Soft window light gets you so far. It brings out form with the shadow and highlight and textures of the wood grain. It effectively lights everything so it's bright enough so that you get enough detail. I think we have clear shape and emphasis, and then also balance being created here. Soft window light for the win. Excellent. This one kind of starts to walk that line again on, we're taking a picture of a decorative piece, how much credit goes to the photographer and the sculptor. I find a lot of the elements in the background a little distracted from the sense of symmetrical balance I assume we're going for. Just be really mindful that the shape you're emphasizing is something that is either something you're creating, something you're generating through the use of light, something that you're uniquely discovering. This design right here, this symmetrical balance design, works with the idea, but all of this has to be given to the metal smith, and the fact that it's placed in the middle with some asymmetrical stuff behind it would be the photographer. All right, so I don't know if you can see what's going on here. We see an eye looking through a glass that has some shape and distortion. Again, the perspective on this distortion of the glass, I think, is being affected by the photographer, by the angle, by the lighting. And I think it overall works really quite effectively. I see emphasis and movement towards that. And of course, this shape being generated. There's shape, manipulation of light. Principle doesn't stand out super clearly to me. So there's contrast and there's balance, but it doesn't show a lot of 2D design skill. A lot of the balance and the contrast, I don't know. There's just a lot of things that bug me about this. Like, we're touching the top here. If we were trying to show a photo that had symmetrical balance, we would not have this off angle edge here. We wouldn't be cutting off that top there. You know, symmetrical balance in a photo of a symmetrically balanced vase isn't all that complex to begin with. Just not a lot of experimentation to be shown here. Yeah, there could be rhythm, but it could be more effective. Pattern. You know, I think this just has better lighting. It's not super mind-blowing by any means, but yeah. I think the highlights from that lighting really made a lot of difference there. Instagram. Their shape, but I think they're better at Instagram than they are principles of design here. I don't see clear principle. If they were going for emphasis, it's not clear enough to me. You know, this is. Let's think about that other chess work. I'll tell you the difference between this one and the other one. So obviously this one has a hand in it, which isn't necessarily a con. It could help with a sense of movement or emphasis, but the lighting, the soft, natural window lighting on the other image created a sharper image with more contrast, form, and detail. Yeah, some rhythm back. Lacks a little bit of experimentation, but emphasis with maybe the lighting, but it needed some more to come together on what the clear principle was. And yeah, I mean, I think we focused on shape more than we did a principle. Oh, frankly, this could be the same shoe for all I know. But I think there's more experimentation here. I think the angle is more interesting. The principle that they're going for is still not very clear, though. Oh, cafeteria. I don't know what the principle is. I see, interestingly, I see like shape and movement and some indication of design, and certainly from the framing of things, but not enough to convince me that, this wasn't a random picture that was taken. I'm weirdly drawn to this. Like, I actually think there are some interesting shapes and forms here, but I'm really hesitant to say, oh, they understood the principles of design and movement and line, or they just took some shapes in the cafeteria. Emphasis, sort of. I think it's too busy for it to really work. This is taken from a moving vehicle, and I don't see any clear evidence from the photographer of a principle of design or design skill. Bricks. Yep. There you have it. Interesting perspective, but the movement gets a little muddled with all this kind of stuff going on. Don't know quite what I'm looking at, but even with that said, the principle's even more vague. Good contrast and shape. I'm a little concerned about the placement. You know, whenever you have an asymmetrical figure, which is this case, putting it in a symmetrical composition is a little like, which one are you going for? Some movement, not as clear as I would like. We've already spoken about photographs that are just symmetrical things sitting in the middle of a symmetrical photo. It's not wrong, it's just not that effective, or experimental, I should say. Better lighting, you know, like between this and this, like, I don't know. I just think the reflections and shapes created in this are a little bit more interesting than this. Both are fairly simple, but this is just a little bit more engaging. The human face as a shape is, of course, largely symmetrical. But it doesn't prove or doesn't show very much evidence of experimentation or 2D design skill. I think these are like pomegranate or dragon. In any case, interesting texturally. And decent lighting on it, which helped bring out that texture. Principle of design, like pattern, I guess, could be a little bit more effective. Oh, this one we looked at, I remember looking at a bunch of different examples of the, you know, it made a lot of sense. You know, we can create movement with this reflective, elongated object, the trombone and the tree. The placement of everything here still feels a little off. I think we looked at other ones and resubmitted this one. Okay, so I see purposeful angle, the ice, this creates clear rhythm. We can call this shape, and certainly this is shape. I think if it was just the shape of the bridge and not the ice, it wouldn't be as unique, but this works. So you took a picture of a sculpture, which puts you at kind of a disadvantage that you need to kind of prove your own angle. Did you prove your own angle? Yes, I think so. To an effective principle of design is perhaps movement. I don't find it all that effective, though. Q-tips. An interesting idea, deliberate perspective. I've seen this picture done. Frankly, what they needed to do was get some better lighting and to use about 1/3 of the number of Q-tips just to get a little bit more of the shape in there. Because as is, I don't see a clear principle at all. That's the same view that everyone that sits 2/3 of the way back in a plane sees. I don't see a lot of manipulation here. You know, like clear manipulation of the principles of design. Because can we say there's movement down the wing? Yep, we can, but you know, too busy. Here, like anyone that looks up would see this view in the, I think, band room. But I think because of the way it's cropped, it's pretty darn symmetrical. There's a sense of rhythm back, and the way it's been edited, I actually think that they understood some degree of principles of design for this. Oh, sir. Is this Instagram or TikTok? I don't know. About a year ago, this was like a kind of a trend. I don't see clear design here. More basketballs in rhythm. And that's it. Okay. Well, at a cool 20 minutes. All right. Well, then, if this is timed correctly, you should have the rest of the time to work on your assignment that's due this week, or you're watching videos of the upcoming assignments, I'd certainly encourage you for the shape, but also an upcoming composition video. If you wanted to, you could even look into the sustained investigation videos, which I would look into early because they introduce totally new concepts of photo assignments that require you to have ideas and questions behind the assignment, like coming up with a concept and a meaning behind your photos, which is a huge new chunk to take a bite of. So good luck.